If someone had told me back in summer that going into the Christmas period, Chelsea would be 2 points off top of the league, I'd have laughed. And I'd have said, Maresca must be a genius then. But Chelsea are 2 points off the top of the league. They're in second place. They've been the second best team. They deserve to be there. No doubt about it. This plays some of the best football in the league. I believe it's either them or Spurs who have scored the most goals, because I know Spurs just got 5 today versus Southampton. But Chelsea have been incredible this season, particularly in that first half versus Brentford, all over them. Maybe could have been more clinical and put the game to bed. I think Chelsea made that game more difficult than they should have. Mark Cucurella, his redemption under Enzo Maresca, Nicholas Jackson bagging again the most non-penalty goals of any Premier League player since he joined, which is a crazy stat. And yes, I think there's a bit of inexperience with Chelsea. They are a little bit wasteful of chances. They had 2.31 XG today, and I think they're a little bit susceptible at the back at times. But there's no doubt in my mind that Chelsea deserved to win that game. They dominated the game, and they're not going to win every game 3-0 with ease and comfort. If they want to win the Premier League, they're going to have scrappier wins. As you can see how dominant Chelsea were, then all of a sudden the yellow and blue lines get closer together in that top graphic to show, how Brentford's XG just massively went up from about minute 75. From about minute 75, Brentford upped it. Chelsea were 2-0 up, they were comfortable, and Brentford upped it from about minute 75, made it difficult, but the first 75 minutes was so dominant for Chelsea, who this is where they are on the Premier League table. Of course, Liverpool have the game in hand versus Everton. I believe Chelsea's next game is Everton, but above Arsenal title favourites, and deservedly above Arsenal. You watch Arsenal play, you watch Chelsea play. Chelsea are playing better football. Everything that Arsenal are struggling with at the moment, open chance, creation, finding space, Chelsea seem to be probably the best in the league at it. In terms of creating chances, I don't think there's a better team than Chelsea. Their movement, and credits to Maresca, the ability to keep the ball and then find a pass and play into space. Credits to Maresca, but also the recruitment of Chelsea of these very highly technical players. They were fantastic today. Now, my man of the match was Moises Caicedo. I think you could argue he's had a better season than Cole Palmer. Now, I think Cole Palmer is absolutely world-class, unbelievable player. And I thought today, even though he didn't get a goal or assist, he was fantastic. But we're so used to Cole Palmer being 10 out of 10. Today, he was a 7, 8 out of 10. So maybe some people won't see it as that as good of a Cole Palmer performance because they're so used to seeing 10s. He is unbelievable. But I just think Caicedo this season, every game he seems to be an 8, 9 out of 10. I thought it was a solid performance from Chelsea. I thought Cucurella had a really good game and has been excellent lately. I don't really know what the whole red card thing was for. Actually, I should probably look that up. Because I turned the game off as soon as it was full time. Sancho working hard. It really annoys me as a Man United fan to see the work rate of Jadon Sancho. The one thing about Jadon Sancho that we did criticise him for at United was his reluctance to shoot, and I saw that a bit today. There's a good player there, but sometimes he keeps the ball a bit too long and likes to play the pass. Sometimes he just needs to swing at it and shoot. But I thought Enzo Fernandez was excellent as well. I think that's another goal contribution for him. So I'm going to give you my general thoughts. I'm then going to speak about if I think Chelsea are in a title race, could they win the league? I think, to be honest, yes, Chelsea are in the title race, but you can, and I think Chelsea fans should be excited and they can believe. But unless you're in a tight race in March, when you go into the March international break, that is the final sprint. And if you were right up there in the March international break, that's when you can know for sure. Because I think this season at Chelsea was all about achieving top 4, not necessarily winning the league. I think any Chelsea fan will be happy with top 4. But Chelsea controlled the game. They missed several chances, and I think Brentford only started attacking after 2-0, maybe the 75th minute mark, as you can see by the graphic. And those last 15 minutes were difficult for Chelsea. Defence looked a little more susceptible. Sanchez did very, very well. But Chelsea were dominant 75 minutes, but they need to kill games off. I think Jackson's improved his finishing. He's looked a lot better this season, but today wasn't his best game. Maybe he should have scored. I think Brentford is always going to be a tough opponent, quality opposition, and Buemo, Wissa, they've got so many quality players. They're always going to score Brentford. You always back Brentford to score, particularly if you're playing them away from home. You always back Brentford to score. And I thought the match was a grind for Chelsea. The last 15 minutes were tough, but they deserved to win. And you could say it's a sloppy win. I think Chelsea did enough to win and they made it difficult for themselves. But if you want to win the Premier League title, you're not going to win every game 3-4-0. Liverpool have had a couple of wins this season where they've just about got over the line and Salah's been Salah, do you know what I mean? That's just what it's like. Some Chelsea fans saying, oh, if we can only just win that game, we're not in a title race. But Liverpool have only just won games. That's sort of what the title race is about. Moises Caicedo man of the match, but I also thought Enzo was good, and I think Enzo is starting to. Moises Caicedo's been good for a year. Enzo's been good for 2 months, but Enzo's really starting to put in those £100 million performances that Caicedo's been putting in. And credits to Maresca for getting them out of him, but I think Caicedo off the ball, winning the duels, winning it back, the ground he covers, is a different build. Caicedo is a different kind of monster, but Enzo was a monster today in terms of on the ball, the passing, the line breaking, the getting through, the breaking Brentford down. I think he gives Chelsea so much more control in possession. Lavia gives Chelsea a bit more out of possession next to Caicedo, but Enzo gives them more in possession. And I think if you're playing a big side where you expect possession to be equal, you go with Lavia. But if you're playing a side where you know you're going to dominate possession, you go with Enzo because of what he brings on the ball. Cucurella also good on the ball, Sancho good on the ball. There's really good players on the left-hand side on the ball for Chelsea. And actually, when you look at Chelsea, and there's obviously been a lot of negativity and criticism over the Chelsea squad in recent years and where they've been, and obviously because of where they finished the last 2 seasons or so. But actually, Chelsea's recruitment has been good, and now they've actually got a technical manager. All the technical players they brought in are fantastic, and they've got players like Esteval to come in. And I tell you this now, Esteval is a better talent than Endrick that's gone to Real Madrid. I watched about 4 Palmeiras games because I was interested. Esteval was better. He's unbelievable. I mean, they've got him to come in among Pires and other talents, but Esteval just, for me, is a different level. You've got some young talents, but there's something about him. I thought the defence was solid, but I think, the last 15 minutes, the pressure maybe got to them. The tracking back was good. Madueke, I thought, had a good game, maybe a bit wasteful at times. Sancho, I think, had a really good game, but probably could have shot that time. I think he could have scored today. And I think Chelsea were a bit wasteful in those final moments. I think the front three in Madueke, Jackson, Sancho, I think maybe overthink it. I think the decision-making maybe needs to improve there if I was going to pick at negatives. But I thought Chelsea were excellent, and Moises Caicedo was my man of the match. So today, he registered the most successful ball recoveries, 13, more successful interceptions, 4, than any other player for either Chelsea or Brentford. He won basically the ball back 17 times in a game. That's ridiculous. Every time I saw Moises Caicedo, he was winning the ball back. I was like laughing at this point. I was like, he's done it again. He's been excellent. He's done it again. He was constantly winning back the ball. And look at it today. 85% pass accuracy. 2 chances created as well. What I've noticed about Caicedo isn't just an off-the-ball monster. He was giving Kante vibes today. Off the ball, winning back the ball, dual winner. He was one of the reasons Chelsea were good today. He's been unbelievable this season. Top 5 player in the world. But he's also so crucial in build-up. Receive the ball from the centre-backs. Comfortable in tight angles. Can break play. Can find the space. Can exploit the space with his passing. Accurate balls. 2 chances created. 13 recoveries with 100% tackle success rate, 75 aerial duels won, and also being able to create 2 chances, being really key in tempo setting, covering the ground, which is one of the reasons I think Chelsea have been so good this season because of their midfield battles. Chelsea's midfield has been unbelievably good this season. I always have the phrase, games are won and lost in midfield. One of the reasons I think Man City is shy is they've lost their best midfielder in Rodri, Gundogan doesn't have the legs, Kovacic's legs are going. Games are won and lost in midfield. If you can outrun a team in midfield, you can win a game. Look at Newcastle United. They've took points off City. They've took points off Arsenal. They've took points off Liverpool because they can match every team when it comes to midfield running. And obviously, they haven't had the best season, Newcastle, but they will win the games in midfield, those big games. And if you have the legs in midfield, I think it's one of the most important things in modern football. I think that's why City are falling off. I think that's one of the reasons Man United are bad. But Agate coming in and playing has made us so much better, because he's got the legs. The legs are so important. And as I said with Caicedo, felt like he won back the ball 100 times. He dominated the field. Brentford could not get past him. I feel like every game this season he's been at 8, 9, 10 out of 10. Has he had a bad game this season? There's not one I can remember. Even when he's lost, he's been good. But he's probably top 5 Premier League players this season. Him, Gravenberch, Kulusevski, Cole Palmer. I would make a midfield 4 for them. Honestly, I'll have Cole Palmer. Just those 4 midfielders, unbelievable. But Maresca's found a way. He's found the balance with Caicedo and Enzo, which a lot of people used to question. Nobody's questioning it now. You've got the ground coverage of Caicedo that can take the responsibilities and build up. You've got Enzo that can make the runs and open up space, but also break down the lines and help Chelsea with creativity. And I think Chelsea's ability in tight spaces to then exploit the opposition and find spaces in between the lines is probably the best in the league. And I think that's one of the reasons they're so good. And Fernandes was covering the ground well. And look, Caicedo was a player that I begged Man United, and I begged us to sign him and not Mason Mount. You can go through my tweets before we signed Mason Mount. I wanted Caicedo and not Mount because obviously we had Bruno and we had attacking-minded players, and I said we need someone that can drop deep and help with build-up. Now, I'm going to be honest. Mason Mount, whenever he's played for United, he's been good. He was really good, 10 minutes versus Man City, but he keeps getting injured. If Mason Mount could stay fit, I think he would be a very important player under Ruben Amorim. I like Mason Mount, but he cannot stay fit. It's so infuriating. And that summer, I said, I can understand what Mason Mount brings, but Caicedo was what we needed. I was begging Man United like more than ever. If you go through my Twitter archives for Caicedo, I wanted him. And we went more attacking with Mason Mount, I guess, to replace Eriksen. But I thought, I'm looking at Caicedo because he can replace Eriksen, he can replace Casemiro. And he didn't show it in his first 2 months at Chelsea, but I mean, that's how much I rate Caicedo. I was begging for him at United. And Cucurella, Jackson, Enzo, and Caicedo are players looking their best under Maresca. And Maresca's ability to get the best out of Chelsea players, you could throw Sancho into that as well. We always know there was a good player in Sancho, but didn't show at United. He's looked quite good lately. That's credit to Enzo. You know, he's a top manager. And obviously, other Enzo, look at these numbers. Unbelievable numbers. Because I think one of the biggest criticisms around Enzo Fernandez was he was a creative player, was a good passer, he was good on the ball, but was he getting the numbers? And maybe it's a purple patch like Gundogan had that purple patch a few seasons ago where he kept scoring. But then when you look at his passes, his line breaking, his creativity, Maresca's, he's linking up well with the players on the left hand side. There's patterns of plays there. He's learning the system. It's been phenomenal, and he's been consistent. His output's been good, and yeah, Enzo has been fantastic. And as I said, he's proving himself with his performances. I think he's fantastic on the ball. I think defensively there's vulnerabilities there, which is why Lavia is maybe called upon in the bigger games. And Caicedo even been inverted right back with Lavia and Enzo together. But his movement, ability to draw out defenders, create space. I always feel that he creates more space for Palmer as well, because when it's just Palmer and Enzo wasn't playing, the team would lock down Palmer because he was the focal point of creativity. But when Enzo's on there, there's 2 creative players on the pitch, so the opposition have to sort of split responsibility there. But I think his movement to draw out defenders, create space, the intelligent ones are fantastic. And I think Chelsea seem to create more chances when he plays. And I think Chelsea have maybe created the most chances in the league this season. And, I think Jackson's fantastic. There is talk about Chelsea going for like a shocker. He's a very clinical striker. I think Jackson's a fantastic striker. He can be wasteful at times, there's question marks around that. But I think Chelsea need to focus on goalkeeper and defence before they would look at potentially Jackson. He didn't have his best game today, but the creativity and his ability to break lines and on the ball is fantastic. And we saw that in the World Cup with Enzo Fernandez, and we're seeing that now. And then Nicholas Jackson, this is why I think, I get he can be frustrating, but he's not going to be perfect every game. He's not maybe as clinical as a Chocorez or a Haaland, but most non-penalty goals in the Premier League since the start of the 23-24 season. 23 goals when Mo Salah's reached 22. So is that more than Haaland or something? Like, that's ridiculous. So props to him. He's been fantastic. And also that shows actually how good Chelsea are going forward to create the chances for him. Obviously, he's good with his movement, linking up play, but Chelsea have done and created the chances for him. Which brings me into my final bit. Actually, we're going to talk about Cucurella. Sancho works exceptionally hard, more than he ever did at United. I want to talk about Sancho. He needs to shoot more. I think we used to say this at United. He would get the ball in good areas and he'd sometimes be afraid to shoot. I think there's a good player there. He's so good in the tight spaces to keep the ball, retain the ball, a little bit of cleverness, play in the passes. He's a creative player. Retention is good. He can exploit space. But if he can drive with the ball, cutting and shoot, if he adds that to his game, there's a really good player there. Maybe it'll come with confidence. His spell at United, not confidence. Premier League's obviously a bit more difficult. Maybe he overthinks, holds on to it too long. But there's a good player with Sancho. He just needs to be more ruthless. But he was so good today for Chelsea in his tracking back, winning the ball, combining on the left-hand side, helping break down the team. I think when you've got Sancho and Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo, Palmer, all these players that are technically good on the ball, with Jackson that can drop deep and be involved in play, Chelsea are very good at breaking teams down and creating opportunities. And we saw that today. And I think Jackson's a good player. I think he can overthink it, but I think he's been more clinical this season in general, and I think he's good. And I think Chelsea have solid attackers. And then I want to talk about Cucurella because I think he's probably arguably been one of the best left-backs in the Premier League this season. I think Lewis Hall's been incredible, Kirkes, Robertson. I think a lot of Premier League left-backs have been incredible this season. And I saw this, and I don't fully agree with it, but I agree with the principle of it. I was seeing people say we can upgrade on Cucurella, we can sign a different option, but there isn't a player in the world that can do what Cucurella does. The energy in his counter-pressing is probably the best I've seen from a fullback. And what I agree with is left back isn't a priority for Chelsea, whereas you would think a couple months ago it was. Cucurella has really adapted to that role well. His redemption arc has been one of the biggest in football, and him as a player is so unique. I think Chelsea could look at another left back for depth. I still think Lewis Hall would have cooked under Enzo Maresca, but I think when you look at Cucurella and everything as a whole, he does bring so much to Chelsea. Listen, people, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.